Shanana Gusmao may have resisted Indonesia's rule of East Timor for decades, but in power he's determined that bygones be bygones. However, his is not the only view in the country. Fernanda Borges, the leader of East Timor's National Unity Party, argues that corruption in East Timor will not die away until an international tribunal investigates human rights violations by Indonesians and Timorese before independence. She's in Canberra this week to press her case with Australian MPs and senators. Fernanda Borges, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim, for having me on the show.
First, a general question. We're not seeing the regular reports of violence on the streets of East Timor recently anyway. Has the situation stabilised pretty much since the shooting last year of President José Ramos Horta?
It has, in the sense that people are shell-shocked and are waiting for justice to be able to occur. Many questions remain unanswered about that incident, and prosecutions need to happen in order for people to have the confidence that something like that will not happen again, and for the questions to be answered to the people, because it was an incident that rocked everybody. We believe that the non-prosecutions that have not taken place is also an indication of the past. The rule of law is not being implemented properly in the country, and the quiet, silent approach that people are taking is watching and waiting for that to happen.
So you worry, do you, that the fact that it's taken so long for the investigation to take place and for charges to be laid suggests that the rule of law is at risk?
Yes, the rule of law is definitely at risk in East Timor because since 1975 to now, we have not had the rule of law implemented properly. No one has gone to jail or no one has been prosecuted for crimes committed, and that is a very sad indictment. If we're trying to build a democracy, it needs to happen. People need to feel that what they fought for during the resistance periods, which is for justice and their human rights, is protected. Until that happens, people are very uncertain about the future. Economic development and sustainability cannot occur, and our security situation will remain fragile. Internal security at the moment is being provided by the Australian Defence Force under an international forces agreement, as well as the United Nations Police. We are still not able to do that, and human rights abuses continue to be perpetrated by our security sector and our Defence Force personnel because of impunity in the country. Until we resolve those issues, it is very difficult to build a security sector that will be able to do the job and serve the people in accordance with the laws, be governed by the laws.
Are you also saying, though, that actions taken by Indonesian military security and others in the period from 1975 through until independence really must be brought to book, that these people do need to be brought to trial, or that at least there has to be an investigation?
Oh, yes, Jim, because that was crimes against humanity. There was a lot of abuse that happened during that period that's still occurring in East Timor. A lot of the human rights abuses that are happening now by our police or defence force is an indication of that. And it's a period that requires international responsibility. Crimes against humanity is something that the international community under international law is responsible for. For example, we've had these situations happen in other countries, like Israel. When it happened to the Jews, the Holocaust victims got justice because the international community insisted on it and acted on it. In East Timor, that has not happened, although in 1999 we had the UN in East Timor when the violence broke out and the population was killed, 80% of the infrastructure destroyed. To date, nothing has happened. The UN also has responsibility to ensure that happens. The international community also has, member countries from the UN also has. That's been recognized in the Security Council over and over again, and particularly when the crisis in 2006 happened, everyone realized that it's because of that impunity that we continue to have those difficulties in the country. To date, nothing has happened.
What do you say then, and when you speak to them or when you're in Parliament to people like Xanana Gusmao and José Ramos Horta, who basically are suggesting that bygones should be bygones and it's time to move on and look to the future rather than have recriminations about the past?
Well, I'm saying to them that I have to listen to the people. I am there to speak the people's voice, and the people want justice, need justice in order to put the past behind. It is the only thing that we can do that is fair for them as politicians, and I'm continuing to speak their voice because that is the best thing that I can do for them. And I'm asking the international community to consider establishing an international tribunal, because that is the responsibility of the international community to do so.
Isn't there a danger, though, that East Timor, being such a small and relatively weak country, you would have to say at the moment, that going down this path would provoke an extremely hostile reaction in a very big and powerful neighbour, right, as you say, on your doorstep?
I don't think so, because Indonesia is also democratizing. Indonesia is also calling for human rights in the country, and we are not charging the Indonesian state. We are asking for individuals that carried out these human rights abuses and crimes against humanity to come and be made accountable for. We are not asking for the state of Indonesia to do that. I think the Truth and Friendship Commission reports, no Indonesian commissioner wanted to have amnesties given to those individuals that perpetrated human rights abuses from Indonesia. So that's an indication that people understand the importance of the rule of law, the importance of accountability for crimes against humanity. And it's because of that that I think that we, Indonesia, East Timor, will strengthen our relationship, will strengthen our democracy, will strengthen our respect for human rights and the rule of law if we work on this together as a people.
You were Finance Minister until 2002 in the Alkatiri government. You resigned at the time, saying that the reasons being failures by the government to implement principles of good governance, lack of transparency in developing policy, and the personalised process of decision-making. Has anything improved in the years since then?
On the contrary, Jim, unfortunately it's deteriorated, and precisely because of those things that you've just read out. I saw back then that we were not using the appropriate institutional ways of making decisions. We were not addressing accountability properly. We were not opening up the government, and that remains more intense now. And as a consequence, corruption has risen in all state administration as well as at a political level. That's unacceptable for a small country like East Timor that's just starting out with only the oil revenues as a source of budgetary resources. It is not at all a good sign. We've been calling for for allegations of corruptions to be investigated, for politicians that are alleged to have done that to be set aside, asked to step aside for a period until investigations are complete, and for those allegations that are now before the prosecutor to have a trial before a court of law. To date, none of that has happened. In fact, corruption allegations are treated as if, oh, that's normal. That's unacceptable. Until we trial some of these cases, until our prosecutor takes it seriously and takes it the full course, and have some people convicted for corruption. And that's what worries politicians like me, who also have difficulties in getting information using our parliamentary rights under our standing orders. We're not getting the information either. So we are concerned that in the future, we'll have a close down in the information, not only to the public, to the media and to politicians in the opposition. If that continues to go on, East Timor will be not a transparent country, and the oil revenues will be at a high risk of from corrupt politicians.
Fernanda Borges, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a privilege.